In today's video, Dr. Joe and I explain why you're not reaching your fat loss goals.
All by myself.
I'ma get it, I just don't know how. I've never felt how I feel right now, but everything is alright. Everything is alright. And mama, don't worry, I'ma make you proud. I know you're scared, but it's gonna work out. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
Carbs.
Oh yeah, sure.
300 carb. And
What's going on, guys? So we're here today with my man Dr. Joe. We are in Washington, D.C. for the Yorton Cup World Championships of Natural Bodybuilding with the OCB. And every time I get together with Dr. Joe, I just have to draw him into some conversations because we always have these discussions about topics when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, muscle building, training. We got a workout in last night, for example. So I always just feel like the creative juices are flowing when I'm around this guy. He's just a wealth of knowledge. If you're not familiar with Dr. Joe, I'll put all his information in the description box below. But basically someone who I've always looked up to since I got into the lifestyle of fitness and bodybuilding. And now he's a resource for me as a coach when I have a question that I need to answer. Dr. Joe's my man. So I thought what we would talk about today, Joe, is a common trend we've been hearing from our clients, people on the internet, is people not actually able to lose weight, despite the fact that they're eating low-calorie diets and doing their cardio and doing their workouts and getting their sleep and their lifestyles in the right place. But we've seen and heard a couple common factors over the last couple days. But in your experience, over 20, 30 years now coaching, what have been some of the most common reasons that people have failed to actually be able to lose weight despite putting in the effort?
Yeah, the first thing that always comes back to mind is going all the way back almost 25 years ago when I started doing nutrition consulting, even for the general public, was just simply accuracy. The reason, even before nutrition fact panels were a legal qualification for food, I started bringing macronutrient tracking to our sport and to the general public for the simple reason of accuracy. How else could people really know with a high level of objectivity?
So you mean before apps?
Before I think the internet existed, yes.
Yeah.
I think we were like stone tablets, and you would have to use was it called an abacus or something like that? Move the stones.
Add your macros up?
Exactly, that's
Wow.
we did that. Move one stone over for every ounce of protein. But that's still a trend that I see with a lot of clients, especially the harder they're pushing. It becomes very easy to start saying, well, I won't count that little bite, or if I binged a little bit, if I ate that extra protein bar or something, even something simple like that, they might think it's innocuous. Well, I'll just do a little extra cardio and it won't count. And as soon as I start digging in deeper with these clients who are struggling, almost every single time there is something in that behavioral module, I would say, that is the culprit. It's the problem of accuracy. There are other things, and I know we'll talk about those, but that's the first thing I would point to.
Yeah, and the other things that I want to talk about are the reliance and the trust on other people to tell you what you're eating. Because it's very common now to take an app and take a package and you scan the package and you go, oh, that's what the macros are, great. But unless you are actually preparing your own food and putting the food in a container and eating it later, I mean, there is a huge variation. What is the FDA's allowance on the variation between calories on a given item?
just to be legal on the fact panel, you could be 20% up or 20% down. So there's a 40% margin of accuracy just to be legal. But then we know there are a lot of companies who are well beyond that.
Yeah, and a company that makes these brownies has come up over the last couple of days. They've been tested, and the macronutrient ratios were way off. The carbs were tested that were claimed. They claimed 8, and they actually tested at, what was it, 30?
It's insane.
Crazy. And the protein was listed at 8. It actually came back at 4. So they're not only more calories than was listed on the panel, but it's not even the right ratios for what your goals were. So, and again, it just comes down to, like, you know, we trust the people that make our food. But, you know, as someone who's been dieting the majority of this year, when I need to make progress, or when I want my clients to make progress, I say, stop eating out, stop doing anything, eat the same exact meals for a couple days, and you prepare them. And magically, some things start to happen.
It is very difficult. The more you eat in restaurants, the more challenging it is, because not only are the portions probably not as accurate as they would say on the menu or the website, there are just additives and things like that are just beyond your control. So I agree, Paul. If I go down the entire scale from top to bottom of what I have to work through with a client who's struggling, the very last step is to say, okay, flexibility is great. I mean, that's what I'm all about. But at the same time, we need structure. And if I can talk a client into eating the same things every day for a week, I've never not had somebody lose 2 to 4 pounds, even though they were just struggling to lose anything at all, just because of, again, we come back to objectivity.
Yeah. So let's take that client that you say, let's eat the exact same things. Do you ever have anybody fight back from that because of the relevance now of flexible dieting, where some people actually feel like, well, if I can't eat whatever I want, then I am not on the right kind of diet. You know, it's almost people have fought back against the food plans, the meal plans. Have you ever had anyone have an issue with that approach?
I think most people want the results more than anything.
Exactly.
So if they find that works, then at least we've found the bug in the system, and now we can say, okay, you obviously can see that something was in your plan or your lifestyle that was an impediment. So now we can start adding some layers of flexibility back. It may be, just one meal a day or something else.
Yeah.
But it really proved the importance of structure. So even if you don't go back to eating an exact meal plan without deviation, you still want to have some of those core components of your diet that you can just rely on with a lot more accuracy.
Yeah, you said something to me earlier this year. You basically said, when you take a client who's struggling, you say, okay, I think you even did it with me. Let's just start having the same breakfast every day. Mm-hmm. And then let's just start having the same lunch every day. And I started doing that. And it did 2 things for me. It took decision making out of the process, which can be a little bit stressful. Like when you're a flexible dieter, you're like, oh, I gotta get my protein. What do I eat? When I just wake up and eat my breakfast every day the same, and then I go and I eat my lunch every day the same, I'm able to be more efficient at work, because I'm not constantly thinking, what am I gonna get my numbers for today? What am I gonna hit? I've kind of planned it out in my head. It takes away that decision that I have to make. It keeps my stress lower. So at the end of the day, if I was going to have a meal with my wife, or she was going to cook dinner, I didn't have this reservation about, oh my gosh, what's she going to make? I knew where my numbers were going to be going into that meal. And it really helped me. And then, when you take it to the extreme, now I pulled my diet in probably maybe 10 or 12 foods. And outside of that, I really don't want to add anything, just because I have an extreme goal right now of being super lean. And you've worked with a lot of competitors. So talk a little bit about how the competitor can come out of a situation like I'm in a healthy mental and physical state, in adding food back in.
Yeah, this is a minefield. So a lot of people end up coming off of an extreme prep or dieting phase, and they start eating a little bit, and that physiological and psychological avalanche just keeps rolling, and pretty soon they're up 20 pounds, they're feeling awful. Yeah. So the very same thing. When I started writing about metabolic building, it was to make sure that people had a chance to let their in this normal metabolic suppression happens when you're driving your body composition lower. You've been in a calorie deficit for several months, so you need to just start bringing that up incrementally. And I like to do this with clients before competition. Obviously, that's the biggest goal. Yeah. This being the end of the year, I have clients competing overseas in big pro shows, the World Championships, the Yorton Cup. And in most of them are, their food is coming up. They're almost at maintenance levels of food after dieting, so that they have a chance to not only look their leanest, but still have their fullest, anabolic
Yeah.
metabolic capacity. And if you don't get to that point before the show, you at least have to respect that after the show. When you don't have the pressure of the show, it's even more difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
So you really should take some of those same steps and just stagger your food intake back up a little time.
I have noticed with my clients that I'm able to kind of do the metabolic building and reversing into the show. The question often, hey coach, do I have to go out after the show, or I'm not really craving anything, I'm just gonna go to bed, so
Right.
it really changes the, it's almost like dogma with a bodybuilding show. You just go out and binge after the show, but do you really need to? Is it beneficial? If you're not craving anything, then no. I tell them no. That's you don't have to do that. It's almost for the other people in your life, the friends that are like, we want to see you eat something. So, well, I think we're going to cut it off there. But a few things. So Dr. Joe has a podcast. I'm going to link that below in the description box. So him and Dr. Corey Probst talk about all things, and they are my resources. So if you like my content, you're going to love their content. And if you would like to have Dr. Joe back for some more discussions, let me know below. I'd love to hear from you guys. We've got some projects we're working on together, so we're going to be involved in the next years ahead. So hopefully you guys are having an awesome day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.